Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture.
And today I have mixed and matched a bunch of Sweet Miss Daisy design backgrounds with so many fun options from my crafty stash. Let's go ahead and look and see what we've got going on today.
Hey y'all, welcome back. I just wanted to come on real quick this afternoon and share some projects that I've been working on the last few days. During Saturday Morning Makes, I showed some backgrounds that I had pre-stamped out from Sweet Miss Daisy that I wanted to make into cards. And so that's the results that you see here. So I'm going to move these out of the way for that visual clarity that I always talk about, right? And then we'll talk about the products that I used, and then we'll jump into the projects.
As I'm still working on my Halloween crafty stash videos, I still had a bunch of stuff out.
And I thought I would use some of them while they were fresh in my brain. So I used this Punch It Broomhilda. Broom Zelda. I can't see who it's by. Sandy Gore Evans from Uptown Rubber Stamps. And this one is from Stampin' Up! From 1994. This one I think is a Dots. It says Sunflower, Shine and Sunflowers. It is Dots. This one is a Stampin' Up! As well, 1999. And this is a Stampin' Up! As well from 1997. And earlier I had mentioned that I thought this went in the glove. This is one of that set. Or I thought that it went in the basket. It does not go in the basket, it goes in the glove. So I actually have the basket and he does not fit in the basket. So those are the 4 stamps that I used from my stash, and the backgrounds consist of Sunflower Tile from Sweet Miss Daisy. I think it's Sketchy Plaid. Sketchy Plaid. And Wood Grain. And I also pulled out, what is this one called? Received Ledger. And I had not used this before this round, and I am absolutely in love. I love them all. This one, I think, and this one, these two, of these 4, these 2 are my favorite. I also used this handwritten letter Anna's grandpa wrote to his wife, her grandma, and it is called Correspondence Bits. Anna, if I'm wrong about this, remind me or correct me. This one is handmade by, and I used the handmade by stamps. Those are all the stamp sets that I used, stamps and stamp sets. And then I also used a couple of these pumpkins and stems from this die set. This is from scrapbook.com. I also used this outside, maybe it was this inside one. Anyway, it was a scallop border frame die, and you'll see that when I get there. I use this set a lot. It's my stitched rectangle dies from Creek Bank Creations. This is Wonky Stitched Rectangles from Whimsy. This one is Basic Stitched Circles from Whimsy. No, it's pierced and stitched, because you see the outside circle has a piercing and the inside circle has the stitched. And then this one is Scallop Circle Frames. I used this one. Then I also used this tag die from Impression Obsession, designed by Anna. It's called Tatter Tag. And I used this oval frame from Pink Fresh. Ornate oval frame, part of their Essentials line. I also used this from Gina Marie Designs, and I actually have those layered together. I don't know why I have this in my use. I was going to use this autumn die from Whimsy, but I didn't get the chance. I did use these Primitive Crows, A Murder of Crows die set. I used those. This one is, I think it's called Thankful and Grateful, but I used both of those. Those are from Hello Bluebird. I used Love You from Catherine Pooler, and I used this Thanks from Simon. I also used some of the purples out of here, and then I used this one. That may be the only one. I feel like maybe there's 2. I may have used this this green plaid too. We'll figure it out as we get there. And then in terms of like art supplies, I used black stamp, black ink pad. I used my Distress Vintage Photo. I used my Starry Colors. You can see I use these all the time and I make a hot mess with them. I used VersaFine Clair. I used heat embossing. I used clear and white and black. I used my pencils, my Distress watercolor pencils, and then I used these watercolor crayons. These are from Amazon. I used this watercolor set, also from Amazon. I want to say this is a Kuretake, yeah, Kuretake Gansai Tombi. And then of course I used some Olos as well on a few of them, and with that I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So this one is actually the first one that I made. So I had this background that was already stamped and heat embossed, and I did the ink smooshing to get that grungy beautiful background. You can see all the gold splatter, and I stamped, and I did not heat emboss her, and I colored her up with you know what, I used the crayons and the pencils to paint her up. I've got a little piece of lace there, added some grubbiness to the inside as well with the Love You. I needed something to pull out the tealy blues from there, so I added this to the background, or to the back of the card base. I trimmed it down just a little bit so it was just shy of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Anyway, I trimmed the card base down so that I could add this layer to it, and that teal frame just pulls the teal out of her sweet little dress. So that was my first one. I'm really happy with her. I think she turned out cute. This one had so many iterations. So this one is stamped and heat embossed. It has such fine detail. The heat embossing on this one was a mistake because the heat embossing ate up all the detail, and then there was nowhere left for me to add color, really. So I was unhappy with her, and my son came in and said, hey, why don't you just make her goth? And so this is my take. This is my take on a prim goth farmer. What do you think? And you can see I've got the Gina Marie frame, and then the Pink Fresh frame, and then that beautiful sunflower tiles in the background. But I also have the handwritten letter on both layers, and I also have the plaid, the sketchy plaid, on both layers as well. And then this thanks is from Simon Says Stamp, and I use my crayons to go around the edges, and that's how it has this super bold purple outline. I like that. And then on the inside, just a little more stamping, not the splatter. I felt like there was enough going on the outside. Just a little strip of the teal on the inside to bring some of that color in, and I used the tile there. And then the remnant from the teal dye I put back here, and I added the sweet little cone flowers from the Handmade by stamp set, and I also added some of the sunflower tile. So this one's a little busy. It's not my favorite, but I still think it's really fun, and you can still see all that gold splash in the back. So much fun. And then I made these two tags. This one, again, not my favorite, but still very cute. This is using the sketchy plaid, as is this one. And then you can see that I added the sketchy plaid to this pumpkin, and then this is where I use the ledger on the die cut circle. I do think it's pretty clever to use the pumpkins as the circular layers on this one. I think that's really cute. Both of these have charms from my stash. Added a little extra to the back of this one, not to the back of that one. I really like that look though. Again, there's splatter on the back of this one and not the back of that. And I may go back and doctor that one up some more. But I just think they turned out cute. And I thought that was a fun way to use those backgrounds that I had already stamped and heat embossed. And then on this one, I just did the ink blending and the splatter. This one, I used the pencil, or the crayon rather, it was this crayon. Added all that beautiful layer, and then I used the crayons to color both of them up as well. And then I stamped out these guys, stamped and heat embossed, and I love the way I colored them up. I wanted to use them to coordinate on these panels. These were the sunflower tile again. Oh yeah, and here's the green plaid from here, and then the kind of a tan plaid from there. So I felt like that just created a little bit of visual separation between the images and the background, but also pulled out those prominent colors. And then again, a little charm over here, the word grateful. It got a little messy. Added a little bit of trim from my stash, little trim on this one as well. Grateful and thankful. And here I added a couple of brads. And here you can see this little extra crow, and then this little extra crow. Those are both from that Murder of Crows die set from Whimsy. There's a crow on the back of each, as well as stamping and pattern paper. And then on the inside, a crow stamping pattern paper, a crow stamping pattern paper. Love those crows much more than I anticipated. These two I think might be my favorite cards. Really, really like those a lot. So we'll slide those over here. And then here is Miss Broom Zelda. I think she turned out really cute. And this is me using the wood grain stamp. And then some more of that striped pattern paper. That one. And again, I used just a variety of colors of the watercolor pencils and the watercolor crayons. Eyelets with my crocodile and charm from my stash. And then this is the twine that I've used for all of them. And you can see the splatter. I thought that was really fun. You can see the subtlety of the green skin that she has. And then on the inside, splatter with brown and with purple and with 2 shades of gold and the pattern paper. And I haven't stamped the back, but you can see all the different colors there in the splatter. I think that's super fun. And then last but not least, I finished her up this morning. Again, I just did ink blending, and I added another layer to this because it was fairly thin. And then I stamped the ledger on that one. This is a Stamping Bella stamp set. I forgot to leave it out, I guess. I think the name of it is Fall is my favorite color, and that's also the sentiment that I just stamped it, and then I bubble cut it out, did ink blending on it. But I think she's really cute. Another little charm from my stash. She has the little florals in her hair, her little orange coffee mug. I just think she's adorable. And those are the cards, the projects that I've made. But also in the midst of doing my cleanup, I picked up all of this beautiful grunge, and you can see where I used the ledger. And I have it face up, and then I did some vintage photo, and then I sprayed it with water, and then I just tapped. I just take my paper to the stamp itself, and then I get that grubby look. This one I just did layers and layers of the Kuretake watercolor paints and heated in between to get the beautiful layers, because remember, wet on wet blends, so you would get a muddy color basically, and then wet on dry layers. So I use my heat gun and I heat in between the layers. This one I actually set it aside and allowed it to dry in between layers. This one I haven't put any stamping on top, as you can see, but they both have some beautiful splatter. So those will be fun to finish up. But for now, I am done. I wanted to go ahead and show these because I've got some more to share with you from Sweet Miss Daisy. I have some fun to share with you from this Calls for Confetti. And I have been inspired to do just some painting. Just been watching some of my sweet friends from PM Artist Studio on their channels, as well as Denise Love. And Anna White has been inspired by Denise Love and made some cards out of like a grid painting, like basically like taking the idea of a master board but making grids out of it. But anyway, I want to get that done too. And there's only so many hours in a day and so many days in a week and so much time during those days. So all that being said, I wanted to bring these to you guys. Let me know if you have a favorite. Let me know what you're working on. And I know I asked before, but tell me where you're watching from. I'm curious to see where everybody's at. But I thank you guys for spending this time with me. Thank you, Anna, for all of your beautiful products and for the honor of being on your team. And I just love being able to show how products from one company can mix and match with other companies, right? And I don't think that's a unique situation. I think most of us do that because we have limited stuff in some circumstances. And I just think it's fun to be able to mix and match. And it's fun to see how Sweet Miss Daisy goes with so many different things. So for now, I'm going to tap out. Again, I thank you. And until next time, mwah. This is Nancy, the Handy Scandy, and I'm out.